Hello, everyone. So, when people first look at the word creativity, they often think art, music, writing. But really what creativity is cognitive, it's a cognitive skill. It's the ability to be flexible with your thinking under uncertainty. And this is important because in day-to-day life, whether it's work, school, the answers are never certain. They're never obvious. So this isn't a talk about becoming artsy, but it's more a talk about understanding how effective creative thinking actually works. So we have a definition here. In practical terms, creativity, it's cognitive flexibility under uncertainty. So it's the ability to be flexible in your thinking when you don't have all the answers. And when defined like this, you can kind of put three skills under creativity: pattern recognition, revising assumptions, and generating and testing interpretations. And there's things that we all kind of do in our daily lives to train these skills here. Everyone loves music. I make music for fun. People play instruments, and people deeply listen to music as well. And when doing all of that, you're training these three skills here: your pattern recognition, your timing and variation, and your ability to kind of detect when things are off. And in the real world, in real life situations, these are all skills that are useful when working under uncertainty. Fiction. So when you read fiction or write it, you're training these three skills here. So the ability to anticipate consequences. Say, in a book, something happens to a character, you're already thinking of ideas as to what that means for the rest of the story. Revising assumptions. So what you expected to happen doesn't happen, and you now have to change your assumption about the story in the wake of new information. And also, by engaging with fiction, you're training your mind to have multiple interpretations about the same piece of media. And once again, these are all useful skills in real-life scenarios where you're under uncertainty. Gaming as well. It's a very similar type of thinking, just under a different domain. And sometimes it's quite far removed from professional and productive life, but there's still transferable skills. We have pattern recognition again, probabilistic thinking. So when you're playing games, you think of an input, let's say pressing a button. But before you do press that button, you think of all the possible effects pressing that button could have. And you analyze the probability of each of those outcomes happening before you then decide to press that button. And we have anticipating consequences again. And once again, these are all useful skills in real-life scenarios where you're working under uncertainty. And I'm saying all of this because in the real world, most decisions you make, probably any decision you guys have made today, however big or small, there was some aspects of uncertainty attached to it. Problems have incomplete information, time pressure, and ambiguity. So the question is, how can you kind of train this thinking and put it into practice? And I think that's best explained through some research that's kind of gone into how experts work under pressure. Gary Klein, he's a famous psychologist, and he analyzed how experts worked under pressure. He looked at firefighters, nurses, pilots, and he found they all had the same type of thinking. It was this four-step loop. So when a problem arises, they first recognize familiar patterns. They then simulate outcomes. So they think, if I do this, this may happen. But if I do this other thing, this may happen. They weigh up those options to think of the best thing to do, and they act. If all is well after they've acted, then fine. If not, they adjust their thinking, go back to the start of the loop, and think of new patterns. They look for new patterns and think of new ideas and ways to act. So everybody has an element of creativity, especially by this definition that I'm speaking about today. But not everyone applies it. And I don't apply it either. Like, I'm learning how to do that. My course every day reminds me the usefulness of moving away from rigid thinking and towards some more creative and flexible thinking. And to implement this in your day-to-day life, it's useful to treat problems as open to interpretation. Because the moment you lock in on one interpretation, you lose a lot of learning experience and a lot of the opportunity to learn. Generate possible explanations before coming to a judgment. Mentally simulate outcomes, and update fast when you're wrong. So, creativity isn't something limited to just the artists and the musicians, but it's actually what makes knowledge usable when under uncertainty.